What's happening, guys? Sam from Warlord Games Studios. Hope you're doing well. Today I'm doing a little video on some new paints that were sent over to me from the guys from the Army Painter, and this is their new historical set of World War II American paints. And I've got to say, I've used these beforehand just to try them out, and I've been really impressed. What the set that you get is enough to paint your full army. There's every color that you can imagine to paint up these American guys, and that's what I'm going to do today. I've been lucky enough as well with these paints to be sent a sprue of the new American paratrooper Airborne D-Day versions from Bolt Action. So we're going to be getting these guys painted up using all of the paints from this set, and trying to make them look good. Basically what's happened is I tried the models out beforehand, and this is using all of the colors available. Really nice paints. The effects you can get on here with all of the paints, they literally cover everything that you're going to need. So all of the different khaki colors, drab colors, skin tones for the guys as well. Everything you're going to need is in a box. So really good value if you're going to be getting into Bolt Action and want to paint an army. You're not going to have to research all of the different colors or anything like that you're going to need. You just need one box to buy and you're good to go. So we're going to get going straight away with one of these new paras. So the colors that they have for the general uniform is similar to their triad systems that you'll recognize from a lot of the other fanatic side of the hobby. So we've got the dark drab, medium drab, and light drab here for our colors if we need. With the different types of uniform for American Airborne, they actually had a kind of knee pads on these older the D-Day versions of these uniforms. So we're going to be using the medium drab and the light drab for the general clothing, and then we're going to be using the dark drab for all of the darkened knee pads and elbow pads that these guys had. So really good. The dark drab is also good for the helmets and some other bits. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to get going on that, and I'm going to kind of get stuck into a nice little demo. It shouldn't take too long. Overall, the painting on these guys takes about an hour to an hour and a half. With drying time and those sorts of things on these guys, so it's pretty quick, and you can start knocking out units really well with these paints and the way that they've been formulated. So yeah, we're going to get going, but without further ado, here's a little message from today's sponsors, which is Army Painter.
Hey everybody, it's Adam from the Army Painter, and you're watching Warlord Games Studios.
Okay, so first things first on these guys, the vast majority of this this trooper is going to be utilizing the medium drab. For the D-Day version, they had a kind of medium drab on a lot of stuff. There's going to be some different colors that we're going to do on the some of the pouches. There's some sort of canvas stuff on here as well, and then there's going to be some darker drab that we're going to do on some other bits as well. So first things first, just watering down a little bit. You'll see that I've primed this white. I'd like to go white. You could do a zenithal prime on this, no problem at all. I've just done white because it's nice to show this off on the camera. So I'm just going to go over the vast chunk of this with a nice thin down the medium drab that we've got here, and it's a beautifully formulated paint that you can just paste on and kind of get to it and get this layered up nicely. This model is the D-Day versions had slightly billowy trousers and a slightly bigger version of the standard US Airborne that Bolt Action does. But there's lots more details like little knife pockets and those sorts of things that we can pick out on here as well. But just a nice thin down version of the medium drab to start with is a really good base coat for this model. And once this is on, it's a case of just using the washes and the layering system on the triad to kind of work this model and then get it looking great for your tabletop. So that's really what I like about the Army Painter side of things, is the fact that they've geared it to knock out your army nicely as quickly as possible, and in a method that is easy to follow, simple, and you'll end up enjoying it, sort of thing. So yeah, there's a little cover on this shovel as well that we're going to do. So that's really where I'm going to start off on this model, is just give it this a good coat of the medium drab, and then we will look at this again once this is dry. So nice coat of medium drab on this guy. We're going to let this dry and come back. While that's drying, we can actually grab some other colors from the box to work on. So the boots and the helmet are going to be some different colors as well. So we're going to work on the boots, which is really nicely named Boot Brown, and which is going to give this a quick shake. All of these paints from the Army Painter do actually come with shaker, with mixing balls preloaded in there, which really help. I'm not going to use my Vortex mixer on camera because it makes a noise, but it's a really good a good system that quickly gets everything nicely done. You'll see that I've just switched brushes from the nice big crappy brush that just throw that medium drab on to a little bit more finer details. I really want to make sure that this is where we start sort of dialing in a lot of the right colors in the right places. So I'm going to slap some of this paint on, thin down as well. I always recommend chucking it onto a wet palette just to get that thin down a little bit as well, and then just start getting this brown on the boots. And then what we'll do is we'll also grab some of the dark drab and get that on the helmet as well, and potentially on some of the other little bits of rigging and those sorts of things on the back of this dude, and make him look pretty rocking. But this lovely model as well. Warlord have done a really good job on updating their existing D-Day guys and just making them a little bit more chunky, which is wonderful to see, because they did have a little bit more of a billowy type get up for the drop in D-Day from looking at the photos. So yeah, we're pretty much there with the brown. I'm happy with that. I'm making sure we've covered all of the brown on the boots. One of the things that I really do love about this kit is the fact that there's this shade called military shade included in it. This stuff is like genius. It really does work well. Over browns, over greens, it's a very good kind of, very similar to Athonian camo shade from Games Workshop, but it's actually a better formula. So I enjoy doing that, and you'll see the difference when we start throwing some stuff on. But dark drab next. Dark drab is going to be on the helmet of this dude, and we may well look at some of the other bits as well. So just going to get this dialed in. Just diluting this down with a little bit of water, and then getting this painted on the top. And you'll start to see that as soon as you start getting these colors on these models, they really do start to take life, which I absolutely love. This is a lot of the guys call this the ugly phase, when you're just chucking colors on here. But honestly, just getting color on these models looks a ton better than keeping your models in the grey plastic or primer. So there we go with that one. That's the helmet. I may well come back and put some more details on some of these other bits, but I really do like that as a nice dark drab. You can use this dark drab as well in the triad systems to kind of like accentuate some of the bits on here and kind of shade it. I'm going for quickness on this model, just to knock your army out. So I've not gone down that route of the you know, layering it up from this dark to this medium and then to a light. I'm just doing this as it is, and I'm letting this military shade do its thing after the medium drab is done. What also we're going to do is actually chuck on a little bit of brown on this guy's rifle as well. So strangely enough, they have a color called rifle brown. So we're going to grab that and chuck a little bit of that on, which is thankfully a different shade from the boot brown. So we're going to get a couple of different browns on here. I'm just going to dilute this down, just a little bit of water on the palette. And then we're going to give the rifle itself a nice brown. I'm going to give this a coat, because then we're going to also go over all of the metal bits on this as well when we're done. There is lots of different browns and greens in this kit, but that's what you would expect from a military accurate paint set, which I absolutely love. By looking at the paint set, it looks like they actually were in consultation with a military expert on making sure that the colors were accurate, which is wonderful to see. And yeah, we're gonna use these, and you'll start to see it really is taking shape. I'm just going to top up a little bit of the base coat of the medium drab on a spot that I just noticed, which is going to be handy, just inside here. But yeah, you'll start to see that it's a smooth, very, very smooth process of getting these models all dialed in. So we've got that going. What we're also going to do is have a quick look at the flesh tones as well, and get some of the flesh tones knocked out. There's two flesh tones in this one, which is Paratrooper Tan and Rosy Skin. I always go with Paratrooper Tan as a nice base coat. It's actually worked wonders with the model that I practiced on before this. It's just a very, very nice, like darker tan that you can kind of work up from, and kind of have some fun. But as I said, really good set. It really does work wonders, just to buy one paint set and have everything that you need to paint Americans in a historically accurate way. There are other paint sets available, the German and a British version of this as well. So if you're contemplating getting it into bolt action or Flames of War or anything along those lines that needs some historically accurate models with it and all the right colors, then jump on board, grab one of these boxes, because honestly, like for the price it is, I think it's over here in the States about $70, 80 bucks. It is well worth it to go, okay, all I need is one box of paints and I'm good for the whole army. And that for me is a big sell, because doing historical sort of painting beforehand, it takes a long time to find everything that matches historically accurate, and that can be a bit of a pain in the neck. So it's really good that the guys at Army Painter kind of worked out exactly what's needed, put it together in a box set, and shebang, we got it ready to go. So that's the flesh tones ready to go on this, all done. You can kind of see we're starting to get some shape. The other bits, the headband underneath the helmet, and also the strap underneath his gun, I'm actually going to use, well, there's two opportunities to do, is canvas, which I'm not too keen on, or a light drab. And I'm actually going to use the light drab because, again, they had varying different colors of drab from looking in the photographs and those sorts of things. So mixing and matching all these different types of drab, now in the ugly phase, totally fine, and looks more historically accurate on the table when you know, rather than having a uniform model that's just boring. So I like to mix it up with another color of drab, which is the light drab, and get this on there, and also on the underside of his helmet. And the good thing about it is there's a lot of reproduction stuff that's made based on all this, so you can kind of make a good shout on what the colors are going to be. But it's just a nice variation. I'm just being a little bit more detailed now, chucking this on around the face because I don't want to get any paint on the areas that I've been working on. And then yeah, I can literally take this light drab and go, okay, well, there's a couple of pouches on the back here. I'm going to give these a little coat of the light drab, and there's another little pouch on the top of his shovel. I'm going to give that a little bit of a coat of the light drab, and then we can highlight these once we've given them a wash. The canvas side of things, I am going to use the canvas on the bottle. There's a little water bottle container, and I'm going to use canvas on that. Again, there's no like strict this color, that color. They were a lot of mixing and matching, and a nice little canvas bottle here. I'm going to get this canvas bottle on here dialed in. There's going to be a little metal top on that. It's just a little canteen holder. I like that. Beautiful. So we got that on there as well. It looks like there's some gloves, I think, attached to his back or something like that. I'm just going to grab some dark green from the dark drab and just get from the same of his helmet and just give them a little coat of something as well. Just to give it again a little bit more of a variation. This kit, again, going back to it from Warlord, is very, very good. There's lots of different stuff that you can make out of this kit, and you can also use it to add to existing Airborne as well. All of the bits fit with the kind of existing or older kit as well. And I think I'm good with that. I'm gonna get a little bit of the wood that I had on the gun and just give the entrenching tool, my little Krieg tool, a bit of brown on there. And this is all while we're waiting for the main color to dry. If you haven't smashed it on really sort of thin and watery, it's pretty much good to go by the time you've finished off all of this stuff. So that's going to be a little bit of metal in there. That's good to go. And then I've got to do a little bit more on the flesh. There's a little bit on his top thumb. I'm going to give the model a quick little look over in a second. I've also just got to get a little bit more of the flesh tone in there, making sure we're good. Okay, so we're looking good on a lot of the base tones. I've got to get a little bit of the light green and tidy up that on there, and a little bit of the medium again around his flesh. So good thing about it is once you get these kind of colors onto your palette, onto your wet palette, you can go back and pick stuff out. There's a little bit of brown again that I forgot from his gun on the stock, and that's tucked into here. And we're going to make sure we get all the little bits underneath, and we should be in good shape. And a little bit more on the light. I tend to do this, I tend to kind of rush through and then find little bits that just need topping up. But I'm all right with that, to be honest with you. It's looking pretty rocking for a wash. I need a little bit more of that just to tidy up this bit down here. Beautiful. And then what I'm going to do now, because most of the main bit of the medium is dry, I'm going to go in now and do all of the patches. So these D-Day guys actually had quite large patches of protection on their drop uniforms. and you'll see them in some of them. It was just for D-Day. They got rid of these pretty quick afterwards, as they weren't necessarily combat efficient, having all these billowy stuff. But for the drop and having knee pads and elbow pads built into them was something pretty awesome. So I'm just accentuating them. They did have them like sewed on. They are modeled onto these models quite nicely, so you can kind of see them on there looking pretty rocking on the knee pads. A little strap that runs around this one, and then we're going to do the elbow pads as well, and they're actually modeled on nicely on these kits as well. So we're going to get these slapped on. And they are on the side there. And so there we go. We've got the little patches on. Just got to make sure that they're all painted exactly the way I want to paint them. And then anything else that I want, I think I'm going to do the little scabbard on his little boot knife in the dark green as well, just to break that up a little bit. Not entirely 100% on the colours on there. If you're watching and I'm painting these in the wrong colours, I don't want messages about it. I'm just trying to get these tabletop ready so they look good. I've had that before. Excuse me. Yeah, not you know, that into it. I want them to look good and be semi, historically accurate. But yeah, I think it's looking good already. I just want to top up a little bit on the medium, just to make sure I got enough in there. And then I'm going to wait for all of this to dry. But while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to start picking out some of these little bits on the top with some of the different colors that we've used already. So we're just going to do a little bit. These are just little tassels of color, little rag bits that they would have threaded through their helmet to give them a little bit of camouflage. Sprue, I think it's called. I'm not sure. My dad would kill me if he heard me calling it anything, but I think it's called sprue that you put in on the helmet. And it's just a way to break up the helmet and look a little bit more like camouflage. So I'm going to kind of go over a lot of it with the first color, and then I'm going to go also over it with a little bit more. So we'll grab a little bit of the light one, and then we'll do little bits of the lighter drab on here, just to break it up and give it a little bit more camouflage. And I like this is why these triads work really, really well, is because they're all built around the sort of same thing. They look good for highlight, base highlight, and a shade type thing, but they also look really, really good when you stick them on a model, and then you've got all of that good stuff. So yeah, starting to come into shape a little bit. And then what we're going to do now is I'm just going to literally give this a little bit of a break, and then we are going to give it its first wash in a second when I come back. Okay, so everything's dry, and I'm going to hit it now with its first shade, which is going to be the military shade. We're going to use this on first. This is a really, really wonderfully browny green shade that you can hit the whole model with, really, if you really wanted to. I'm going to go over a lot of the uniform with this, and to start picking out a lot of the uniform. You can probably also use this on the boots as well to get stuck in there, but I'm using it on all of the different levels of drab that we put on here at the moment, and the helmet, just to give that a little bit of variation and start giving it some depth. I'm also going to give it a coat on the canvas as well, the canvas color that's in there, and really get this all over the model. It starts, as you can see, starts to really get into a lot of the depths. It's also light enough that it doesn't change the tone. It just fits nicely on the model in there, giving it some depth, as I said, and starting to just pick out this model before we start going in with any highlights or anything like that. This thing is just, it's a beautiful paint, and I really dig it. Out of all of the paints in this, Military Shade is probably got me my favorite so far. There's been a few others, but Military Shade is just phenomenally fun to use. And there we go, we can see that that's done that. I'm going to put a little bit on the boots as well, just to darken them down and give them a bit of depth. But yeah, so you can start seeing it change now and start to give it, the washes and shade has gone into a lot of these dark bits. We're going to leave this to dry. Believe it or not, I'm going to just go over the gun with Military Shade as well, because I find that that's a little bit less oppressive on the brown, but it still gives it a little bit of depth. So bear with me a second. We get a little bit on this gun and the stock, boop, but I'm not touching the flesh at all. So the flesh tones are still going to be as they are, and they are going to get their own little treatment in a bit. And I still haven't messed around with the little bit of metal on the entrenching tool, so we're going to give this a little bit of time to dry, and then when we come back, we can start working on the detailing parts of this model and getting him on the final stretches. So yeah, looking good so far. Okay, so while we're actually waiting for the Military Shade to finish off drying, we're going to just make sure we get the flesh with some a flesh wash. Included in the set is a warm skin tone, so we're going to just give this a tiny, we only need a tiny amount of this on our palette for us to just go over the skin tone before we finally hit it with the rosy skin. But yeah, so we're going to grab some of that on our brush, on our detail brush, and we're just going to give this a nice little skin tone wash on here, which is exactly what it's meant for. And then we're also going to get his hands to give that a little bit more depth. And then we should be in really good shape to start finishing this model up. It really does come together in the next phase once we've got everything done and dry. Just little details now really to get this going. One thing I do like to do is load up my brush. When they've got an open mouth, load up your brush and just gently get a little bit more in there for it to settle. I like pulling it in the mouth, because it just gives that sense of darkness in there, and you can kind of see on there as well that how well that skin tone, the warm skin tone, kind of just goes in there and gives it a little bit more depth. You can kind of go over and give them stubble and all that sort of details if you really need to, but as far as getting this ready for the tabletop, you know, everything's got paint on it apart from this little bit down here, which we can get sorted out in a minute with one of the metallics that's included in this set is steel, so we can give that a coat, or you can, if you want it sort of the blued effect, you can just go in with matte black on it as well and get that finished up. So we're going to be using these two colors next with on the firearm itself, on the M1 Garand that this guy's got. We're going to use a little bit of a mix. The steel itself is a little bit too bright. It's a little bit too perfect. They didn't have that in, you know, on D-Day. However, what I am going to do is take some of the steel and just add a little bit of black to it, so we got that like dark, very dark metallic kind of feel to it. And that is really where I'm at with this, is the fact that you know, you want to kind of still have that semi metallic feel to it, but very darkened down. You could, if you wanted to as well, go black with the whole thing, and then just give it a little dry brush. but really I'm just going to be giving this a coat and then probably black washing this, giving it a nice black wash to turn it down. They've got like little lines on these grands as well, and then the overall top was, and the bolt mechanism as well was a little bit metallic there, and it kind of shoots up the side, but it still leaves the top nice and wood. There's the top of the upper. And we're just going to get the whole mechanism dialed in. There we go. So that's the gun done, the M1 Garand. Not a big amount of work needed to it, and then we'll give that a black wash. There was the butt stock as well, was like a blue metallic, so we're just going to give that a little coat as well. While we've got the metallic out, there was a couple of little bits on the water bottle, had a tiny little button, a metallic button as well. And then we're of course going to get this little bit of metal done on the entrenching tool, a shovel basically. And we're also, remember, we're going to be dulling these down and getting them all sorted out as well. So yeah, so that's the metallics. We're pretty much there now with all of the shade. What I'm going to do now is, and this is totally up to you, if you wanted to kind of go down this direction, you can start detailing and highlighting up. So I'm going to, look, because we've used the medium drab, you could, after using the military shade, go back over with a medium drab. I'm going to go with a little bit of a highlight of medium drab and light drab, a combination of these two, and just go over some highlights just to push it a little bit further, make it a little bit more fancy, and kind of go down that route, which I love doing. It just adds to that model and just finishes it off nicely as well. So just a 50-50 mix of these two just helps bring some of the highlighted areas on the model back up again. And as I said, this is a quick paint job. This is not a display level or anything like that that I would take hours and hours on. This is getting your models painted up and knocked out as nicely as possible. So I'm just going to be picking out some little bits on some pouches and those sorts of things, and little bits that are going to be catching the light, and especially around where some of the shade has caught, and just picking out some of these little bits. It might not show too much, but for me it's just a nice little bit to add to this model, and just put a little bit extra love in there, you know, and make it just a little bit better than just slapping on some stuff. So that for me is super fun. Just some little bits that are going to be on there, and it just breaks down the monotony of the of all of this drab that's on here as well. So just little bits, just adds a bit of texture as well to this model. So that for me is super fun. And then as far as the cantina goes, believe it or not, I'm going to take a tiny little bit of the brown that we use for the gun and just give that a little wash. Just add a tiny little bit of detail on here. And while we're at it, because it would have had a little bit more of a brown hue to it, I'm just going to glaze that a little bit on there just to give it a hue. But I did forget to paint the top of the water bowl, so I'm going to grab some on my metallic and get that on the lid of there. While we're reminded, we can go as far as some of the little buckles and those sorts of things on the back if you want, and kind of go down that route as well. But as far as it goes, I'd be happy with this being on the table as is at the moment, but there's little bits that you can do. I'm probably going to go over and paint the eyes, and I'm going to, now with the black here, I'm going to use the black tone that comes with this. It's a really good black wash to black down and blue that metallic down to what it would have been. And as I said, I kind of, the steel itself is a little bit too bright for my liking, but with a little bit of the matte black that comes in the set included, and you start darkening it down a little bit, it starts to really look the bee's knees. So we're going to just continue getting this black wash on here. I'm going to make sure we black this metallic up a little bit as well, because they were not shiny black. And then while we've got the black metallic out, I'm going to use it just to do a little bit of lining on some of the pieces on this, just to give it a little bit more, and just go around some of the little bits, accentuate some of the pouches, and also go in on the helmet a little bit as well, just to darken that down and give that a little bit more of a depth than the dark sort of stuff that we've got there as well. Just adds, just anything you're doing on these models just adds to the realism of it, and I love it. You can just kind of go with a little bit of black on some of the parts of the straps and those sorts of things. But yeah, as far as that goes, I'm pretty happy with this as is. And as I said, I'm gonna grab a little bit more and accentuate the mouth, put a little bit in the mouth, and then get some white done. What I'm going to do probably to finish this off for this video is go with the rosy skin, which is another color. There is so many in this that so many paints in this set for like emblems and all those sorts of things that you're going to put on the shoulder pieces to indicate what regiment and battalion these guys are from. But as far, all I'm going to really do is just accentuate the skin a little bit more and give this, it's called rosy skin, and it's just a nice little highlight color for the flesh tones. I'm just going to get some of this watered down a touch. Just put this in, a little bit on his nose, a little bit on his cheeks. And again, these models are a little bit smaller than standard sort of Games Workshop models and those sorts of things, but they still are very good. I absolutely love them to bits. And we're going to just accentuate a little bit on the fingers, and I'm good with that. So to finish this model off as is at the moment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to base it now. Just to finish this off, the basing I'm going to use is Kraut Cover Ruins of Persistence. This indicates kind of rubble and stuff like that from houses. Absolutely love it to bits. It's a really good product. And I'm going to grab some of the glue that goes with this. Hopefully, if I can find it. Here we go. So this is Kraut Cover, Kraut Tack. And we're going to grab some of this off of, which is a really good adhesive. And we're going to just finish this off with a good base, and it makes a world of difference. I'll kind of show you in a second. We're going to apply a lot of this liberally on the base with an old brush. You want to kind of grab an old brush for this. We're going to grab a chunk of the basing glue, put this all down. Nicely lay it up. Don't have to be like equal with this, because where we're applying all of this glue is going to be rubble, and this guy's going to be running through some rubble, maybe in Carentan or St. Mary Glees or something like that, and you'll see in a second how much it transforms the model with a good base. So we're going to get all of this product on, and there we go. So that's all on, and then these simple basing products is straight in, we're going to get lots of rubble on that sort of stuff. We're going to dip and smush it around a little bit, and you'll see that's how our model turns out. It looks like he's been fighting in the ruins of one of the towns in Normandy, and absolutely love it. And I may well probably go back over this and just stick some of the bits of wood maybe, and like little bits of wood and stuff that looks like bits of and maybe a couple more big rocks we'll take out of here. But yeah, you know, that's how good this sort of system is. Army Painter have really smashed it out of the park. I've been really enjoying painting with these. Super simple. You can use it and knock out squads in an hour or so. And as you can tell by the length of this video, not long at all. So enjoy it, guys. Really happy with this, and as I said, you can detail this more if you want to. But yeah, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. And if you like what this video sort of does and stuff like that, and you want some more tutorials on using these paints, please like and subscribe and shoot me a message. I appreciate you all for watching. Thanks ever so much.